Before we present our Chamber Champion Award, I'd like you to join me in viewing a brief video.
My dad, Ken McCafferty, he was born and raised in Butler, grew up in this area. He worked for a person selling lawn and garden equipment down Route 8 south of Butler for quite a few years before he got into the rental business.
Kenmac originated with Ken McCafferty, and from day one, it started as a family business.
I know he focused a lot on lawn and garden equipment. There was also a big focus on exercise equipment. There was a real exercise craze back in the 60s. And some of the equipment that we've seen pictures of is pretty bizarre looking too. My two brothers and I all started working here at a young age. He started you out at the bottom. And that was very good advice back then because you learn the business from the bottom up. And now I feel like anything I ask any of my employees to do, it isn't something I've not already done myself.
You know, we would wash the windows and dust the equipment, but then I was the youngest and I was the shortest, so I fit in the van. And so I would like load all the tables and chairs into the van. You know, then I got taller and I still loaded all the tables and chairs into the van.
One of the key things that my father always believed in was treating people in a good way. When the customer comes in your store, he's the most important person that walks in your business. And we've tried to replicate that same philosophy with great service, great prices. I have an unbelievable staff here that really, to me, any business that's successful is because of their staff people. It's not just the owner, it's just everybody working together as a team.
Yeah, Brian has always been, from day one, he's just a great brother. We just always had fun, you know, he's always a good mentor and somebody to look up to. You know, he just makes the time for everybody else in his family. So, yeah, he's always been that way.
When I think of Brian, I think of certainly a man of an integrity and honesty, the kind of guy you'd like to do business with. And he's really a good mentor for me and a guy that I look up to in the community.
You know, I'm really proud of my dad and proud of my brother, Brian. You know, we all grew up, the family mission statement basically would have been do everything for everybody else before you consider what you do for yourself. Grew up doing community service and, you know, considering everybody else and what everybody around us needs. And so then Dad, you know, even in business, was part of the chamber early on and downtown, really involved, just nonstop with the business, but also he was nonstop with the community. And it's great to see, you know, Brian, it's just like something must be in our DNA.
Ken McCafferty and my father, Al Opitz, were kind of hands-on guys, sort of multi-talented guys that love to jump in and help others. It was fun to watch them utilize those talents and skills for something that they wanted to donate their time to and spend their energy on. That really sets up an example for this generation to look at guys like that and try to follow in their paths and utilize our skills and abilities to better the community.
We have to ask ourselves what kind of a community we want to leave our kids and grandkids, because what's happening is on our watch right now. So I feel we have an obligation here to better the community that we live in, and you have to hope that your contributions will do that. And I feel like I've been blessed that I've seen a lot of positive results from some of those contributions.
It's been neat, you know, there's a lot of great people that came to work at Kenmac, still work there. It says a lot for Dad, it says a lot for Brian, you know, keeping people for 30 years at the same location and just really, you know, trying to treat everybody the best you can, but yet still operate a business.
I'm just a spokesman for this award because my father, very involved with the community when he was active in the business. He was the founder of our business. I feel like my staff here, it's their honor too because they're the ones too that are part of Kenmac Rentals. The employees are key. Even my family, you know, anybody that volunteers extensively, they're giving up family time. And to have a family that understands that is a big thing to me too.
I'd just like to say Brian McCafferty and McCafferty family and the Kenmac business, congratulations on this award. I believe it's well deserved and you've certainly earned it.
Well, I just want to say congratulations, Mom and Dad, Brian, Ruth, everybody's families there. Just appreciate everything you've always done.
Here to present the 2018 Butler County Chamber of Commerce Business Champion Award is last year's award winner, Glenn Miller from Thompson Miller Funeral Home.
Good evening. I have to tell you, I got an email from Brian when he first found out that I was going to be introducing a little speech tonight. It's okay. It says, "Be careful what you say, for there's an old saying, never give an Irishman a chance for revenge." I might be in trouble. Last year, I stood here in front of my chamber friends and received this award for my family's business. Christopher Cole introduced me and had a warm story about our family's funeral home, and I have to tell you that in the last year, it has been remarkable. So many people who have come forward and shaken our hands and patted our backs and given us good, warm words. Brian, I look forward to that part for you and your family. Tonight it's my turn to pass that award on to the next very, very deserving recipient, and that is Brian McCafferty and his family and Kenmac Rentals and Sales. Even though tonight's award is all about Brian, the thrill is mine. Here's why. I stand here tonight and tell you that Brian is probably my very best friend. You know the expression about how it's better to give than to receive. Tonight I'm giving. Last year I received and I felt that joy. Tonight I feel an even bigger joy. But before I turn this over to Brian, I have a few things to say about Brian. Hang on tight. Brian's family and my family grew up together. We shared many church and civic functions together. Brian was a fun guy to be around, always happy, outgoing, and jovial. Brian is a very hard worker. As a business owner, an employer, a husband, a dad, a son, a granddad, a brother, Brian knows how hard work produces quality relationships. You know that, and you saw that in the video. I want to tell you a side about Brian that probably few of you don't know, and that's because we grew up together, and Brian has a cool factor. Brian's a cool guy. Most of that cool factor comes from the cars he had and he drove. I'm hearing some giggles. The first cool car that comes to mind is a 1979-ish Pontiac Trans Am. You know, like the one that was in Smokey and the Bandit? Brian had one of those. Burnt orange red, T-tops, that huge big golden eagle on the hood. I'll tell you what, that was the car. I think that's the first car I ever knew of that had a cassette tape player in it. The next really cool vehicle that Brian had was a Jeep CJ5. It was chocolate brown with a rag top, chrome roll bar, fat tires, chrome spoked wheels, a V8 under the hood. Definitely cool. You like being seen riding around with Brian in that. The next cool ride for Brian was a dark blue Ford truck. It was lifted several feet off the ground. Not really, but it seemed like it. Again, big tires and wheels and chrome spokes. It was a surprise vehicle because Brian would say, "Hey, you want to go for a ride?" And you'd say, "Sure." So you'd go to get in and you'd reach for the door handle and there was none. Whoever Brian bought the vehicle from took the door handles off and they were completely smoothed over, and Brian would stand there and laugh at you as you were trying to get in. He thoroughly enjoyed that. There was a button that you pushed and the doors popped open. The second fun part about that was trying to figure out how you were going to get in, since it was so high off the ground. Of course, in those days, we were a lot younger. That wasn't an issue. Okay, I'm almost done. Remember the original Starsky and Hutch TV program? Us guys would watch almost every episode of that. And we marveled at how cool David Starsky and Kenneth Hutchison were. They were just cool guys. During those days, Brian and I had CB radios. That became a necessity because we both talked on the phone from home a little too much. For some of you who don't know, who are a little younger, a phone was a thing that was attached to the wall. And it had a curly Q wire that came out, and there was a device that you held in your hand, and on the top part of it had a speaker. You put that in your ear so you could hear, and the bottom part had a microphone so you could talk, and you could talk back and forth. I don't know about what the comments were at Brian's house, but the comments at my house was, "Are you on the phone with Brian again?" So we had our CB radios. Well, when you talked on the CB radio, you had to adopt the jargon. Part of the jargon was that you had to have what was called a handle. That was your on-the-air name. Sorry. Mine was the Pioneer. Brian's was the Striped Tomato. And that goes back to that very cool car, which was the Gran Torino in Starsky and Hutch that was all red with the big white stripe. So to you, Brian, my friend in Christ, Mr. Striped Tomato, come on up. This night's yours.
Thank you very much. That was great, Glenn. You will be paid back. You have my word on that. I am both humbled and honored to receive this award. You know, I stood up here 4 years ago as your chamber chair in this very exact spot. Very, very proud of this Chamber of Commerce. And I stand up here once again very, very, very proud of this Chamber of Commerce. Kudos to Karen and her board, and Stan, and Jennifer, and Connie. It's amazing. I would challenge anybody in this room to find any organization that's more active and organized than the Butler County Chamber of Commerce. As I've tried to collect my thoughts these last few days, there's just so much I could say, but what comes to mind is a line I heard earlier this year. I'm the guy that's standing between you and that delicious meal that Chris Cole had his staff prepare. I know you're all hungry, so I'm going to keep this brief, guys. While I'm clearly honored, I want to make it very clear that I'm clearly the spokesperson here. Back in 1958, my father took a concept that back then was not a real popular thing back then. It was a new concept. And he took it and he turned it into a very successful and thriving business. And you have to understand, back then, he was the sole employee. He built that business, and as the business grew, he hired employees. And at some time down the line, he would hire employees, and my brothers and I came into the picture. And we started working there too. We all three started there part-time. All of us at one point or another worked there full-time. Apparently, some of them couldn't handle the pressure and decided to go off and start some easy, stress-free job somewhere. Maybe there's one up here in Slippery Rock somewhere, I don't know. But seriously, our dad taught Bob and I to give back to your community. Like most small business people in this room know, we believe that having strong relationships is mutually beneficial to you and the community. And you always have to hope that your contributions will make the community better, the community that you play in, the community that you work in, the community that you live in. I'm going to ask Mom and Dad if you'll stand, please. This award is just as much theirs as it is mine. And I want to thank you for the opportunity and all that you taught me. Thank you. I have to also mention my employees. You saw some of them working up there setting up those tents. I'm not kidding when I tell you, I had a customer who was actually a self-employed barber come to me years ago. And he said, Brian, some of your guys could actually teach the Dale Carnegie courses. And I believe he's right about that too. They have some really good staff people, and they are what makes the business what it is today. And for them, I'm truly thankful. This award is partly theirs too. I've always believed that the relationships that you form while you're serving in any capacity, that becomes the glue that holds that group together. And I'm going to go on a limb right here at this point, and I'm going to ask anybody that has ever served with me on any committee or any board, both past and present, would you please stand right now? I've seen some of you in this room. I know there's a lot of you in here. As they say, there is no I in team, and I want to thank you all for the privilege I had of working with you. And I've always believed that working together is the best way to get things done. And last but not least, I can't forget my family. I have my wife of 37 years. I don't think there's another woman in this entire planet that could put up with me. I just don't think there is. But she has, and I wouldn't be the man I am today without you, Ruth. I appreciate what you do. And she's given me two beautiful daughters who I'm very, very proud of and love very much. And I have two wonderful son-in-laws. I could not cherry pick two better men to take care of my girls. And they've given me four just wonderful grandchildren that are the joy of my life. Thank you all. You know, sometimes we make it so complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. As a grandfather, I want to close with a quote, what has become one of my favorite authors, Dr. Seuss. Listen to a children's book author. This is a quote from the Lorax, one of his books. Unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening, folks.